Invasive species. Alien apex aggressors able to outcompete any native animal in the ecosystem. Recently, there has been a rash of sightings of strange and uncanny birds. Anomalous researcher Trevor Henderson has uploaded several images depicting this new invasive species that's been devastating the continental United States. Usually, anomalous evidence is confiscated for approval, but Trevor just sticks them up on Instagram. You gotta respect the absolute balls on this man. These creatures resemble regular birds, usually owls, but with no eyes or beak and instead a frighteningly large human-like smile and a set of unkempt teeth. Instead of the owl, it has a range of speech patterns, many of which sound like human vocalizations. Words, moans, and the screams of a person being ripped apart by several owls with human teeth are among the wide range of noises this species is capable of making. Unlike other species who just repeat what they've been told like parrots or political news anchors, it seems like these birds actually understand the meaning of the human language they sometimes vocalize, using it to communicate or frighten hikers.
Your mother was a hamster and your father smelt of elderberry.
While this invasive species typically hunts in a similar fashion to owls, tracking prey solo and capturing it on its own, they also display a social strategy unique to their own species. These creatures will gather together in groups of 5 to 20 and swarm larger animals, overwhelming them with sheer numbers and stripping them down to the bone as quickly as a school of piranha. Everyone's gotta stay in shape to run from the piranha birds. I know I'm healthy because the doctor took my blood and my pee and then switched them. When I was a kid, I always wondered why the doctors needed my pee, and a small part of me thought they drank it. Large collections of bones, both belonging to humans and animals, have been found in abnormally large clusters of owl pellet droppings in the area of these creatures. This may be enough evidence to show that they all poop together as friends. In areas where these invasive species appear, the regular bird variety of this species quickly decline in number, almost as if these creatures target the species they're meant to emulate. This is also backed up by the significantly disproportionate amount of owl bones found in the pellet piles. While this species is most commonly reported mimicking owls, if there are none native to the area, they will select another bird. After clearing every potential suspect for bird bestiality, an investigation was launched into the genetics of this strange specimen. As suspected, there was a combination of both human and avian DNA in each sample found. Even stranger than a human breastfeeding a squirrel. It is unknown where these hybrids have been coming from, but some other phenomena could shed light on the situation. Trevor uploaded another strange avian sample with 2 beaks and no eyes on his Instagram page as well. This provides further evidence to the theory that these creatures come from some sort of man-made source. A prototype, if you will. Even though human scientists are consistently ready, willing, able, and mentally unstable, the man-made theory is not universally accepted. Some believe that these creatures came from natural, or potentially preternatural, anomalous evolutionary processes. These are not the only strange avian varieties that Trevor has cataloged. For example, he recently posted a picture of this bird-like specimen called the mocking nightfisher, displaying a miniature human face. These photos are the only evidence of this specific species, and little is known about them other than the fact that it likely has human DNA, and probably came from the same source as the toothy birds. There is one more piece that looks as if it fits into this weird bird mouth puzzle, but it still leaves questions unanswered. For example, would you stick your dick in it? Trevor posted an image depicting an owl-like creature with 2 lamprey mouths for eyes. He titled it Pacific Northwestern Forest Lamprey, stating that it uses carrion as an ambulatory host to propagate and feed. Translation: this worm-like creature hijacks dead owls to fly around, make sexy times, and hunt. Just know if your partner dies and you want one last time with them, go with the rhyme. Shove lampreys in their eyes and brains to say goodbye with a bedsheet stain. What the hell am I talking about again? It is unconfirmed whether or not the invasive species are related to these creatures or if they occurred naturally, but what is certain from the evidence he presents is that there is an increasing number of anomalous avian predators cropping up in multiple ecosystems.
Hey, don't throw your garbage down here!
Locals call her the Hag, which she hates, though she can see why. She's a humanoid hagfish that looks like a decayed, waterlogged corpse. She's been around for a long time. She wasn't always like this. She floats face down and waits for people to jump in her pond to drown. This was the only information posted alongside these two images of this newly discovered entity dubbed the Hag. This creature was first reported by the preternatural investigator Trevor Henderson, and in his trademark style, he posted full uncensored anomalous evidence, just spread eagle on Twitter. What a badass. While this is the only info we have to draw off, it does still illuminate quite a bit about this mysterious entity. She's described as a humanoid hagfish, so we can take a look at the non-humanoid analog to understand more about the hag's physiology. I feel bad calling her a hag. You look like an Agatha. I'm calling you Agatha. The hagfish is one of the oldest living fish on the planet. It has a skull but no spine, and tiny holes run the length of its body for breathing and secreting a thick mucus-like slime. Its face sports a jawless mouth lined with rows of razor-sharp jagged teeth, which it uses for slicing through dead fish. These teeth are attached to two bony plates that it can manipulate to tear into corpses. Yummy! The hagfish also has a single nostril which it uses to find dead animals to feed on. You know, if you get past the eating dead bodies and being covered in a viscous slime, she's pretty chill. Makes a mean moonshine out of dead raccoons too. We can also draw on the physical attributes visible in the photo. She seems to have two mouths, one skeletal mouth that looks to be humanoid in structure, and below it, a hagfish-like mouth protruding from the neck. Her skin is obsidian-colored and coated in a thick slime. Again, like a hagfish. Gushy hagfussy. Okay, I'm sorry, I'll leave. From Trevor's description, the woman that the hagfish is puppeting seems to be alive. I mean, it says that she hates locals calling her the hag. Dead people can't hate things. They're busy being dead, idiot. Agatha's consciousness is still functioning, and trapped in her decaying body that now serves as a shell for one of the most f***ed up snotworm hermit crabs ever. If you're a huge fan of the Mans like I am, it would be impossible to see this creature and not notice a thematic similarity to other oddities reported by Trevor Henderson. The phrasing, "she was not always like this," leads one to believe that she was once a human with regular, non-slimy skin and not a neck mouth. In a different video, I covered another phenomenon that Trevor reported on: the invasive species of anomalous birds appearing in the forest ecosystems. One of these creatures, the Pacific Northwestern forest lamprey, reportedly used dead animals as a host by turduckening themselves inside of their holes and worming their way inside their nervous system. It is my theory that some sort of a hagfish-like abomination crawled up inside this lady's guts, but not in the fun way, and now uses her body as a captive meat puppet to feed on the people curious about the bloated corpse. Some anomalous researchers have theorized that this species uses humans to make it seem like they're drowning and attract passerbys, scavengers, and curious kids that want to poke it with a stick. Be honest, wouldn't you try to go help if you saw a body in the water? Yeah, that's what I thought. That's why these f***ers are extinct in NYC. This is the second example of an alarming pattern of these body-snatching parasites. It seems as if this is a subsection of a different species of jawless fish that have been able to manipulate the bodies of living, decaying, and already dead matter through an unknown means. Don't ask me what it is, I didn't know. There have been numerous other alleged sightings of these or similar creatures, but none of them come from as reputable of a source. And some of them look faked, even like an AI made them. I can never get a thing straight because of humans. Can't go anywhere with you f***ers asking the cashier how many feet pics is equivalent to $1 US ass, playing which pill is laced with fentanyl for fun, phone screen primate bitch. I looked back and the figure stood outside the main entrance. I felt its eyes on us as the growths sprouting from its head waved and twisted, as if they were caught in some invisible undersea current. This was the only information posted alongside this photograph of what appears to be an anomalous creature. This entity was documented by Trevor Henderson, who rightfully took a dump all over the Foundation's anomaly report process. Who has time for it? It's like going to the DMV. While this might not seem like a lot of information, there are just enough clues in this post to theorize on what this creature could possibly be. One theory I have is that this is an animal in some way related to undersea worms. That sounds a bit far-fetched, but just bear with me here. The head of this person bears a striking resemblance to a few species of undersea worms, and while not a perfect fit, when you take into account the few sentences that Trevor left alongside this image, it begins to make more sense. More specifically, I believe that this entity is an undocumented and possibly anomalous species of Ossidax worm. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I'm banking that you don't either. Ossidax worms are worms that typically survive by burrowing into whale bones. They have no mouth or internal digestive system, which is refreshing because most of these critters are just full of gross red stuff. These worms rely on a symbiotic bacteria to digest the fats and oils in the bones for them. I believe that this image depicts an Osedax worm that, through either anomalous or evolutionary means, made the adaptation to prey on humans rather than whales. Of course, this is just one theory, but all I'm saying is, unless I'm mistaken, human heads ain't supposed to look like that, man. Whereas a whale carcass can sustain a micro-ecosystem for years due to its large size, human bodies are not as well endowed. I'm not referring to the fact that whale dicks are 8 to 10 feet on average, and you can Google that. I'm referring to the fact that when an Osedax worm gets into a human's neck, it tends to suck them dry like a fat kid with a Capri Sun. Hence, a human Osedax infestation would likely be fatal. It's unknown how these worm eggs infect their hosts, but similar to the oceanic species of Osedax, it's likely that they have larvae that can latch onto the human head, feasting on the brain of the person first, incapacitating them, and proceeding to use acids to dissolve the rest of the human skeleton in meaty bits. In the water, these larvae move with the current. I see no reason they couldn't use air currents on land as well, floating en masse along the wind until one happens to get in contact with a human, after which they burrow under the skin and make their way to the brain to begin the infestation process. If you're a fan of Trevor Henderson, or of my show for some godforsaken reason, it would be hard to look at this entity and not notice a thematic similarity to several other Trevor Henderson creatures. I believe that undersea current is a different species of parasite that functions similarly to those two entities, although this is a new third style of feeding that is yet to be seen. Whereas the bird and human variants were predatory and scavengers in strategy, using their host to hunt other creatures, this variety has no mouthparts or attacky bits of any kind. It rather acts as a predator in a different fashion. Rather than using its host to feed on other animals, it uses its host like a typical disease does, as an infection transmission vector. Like some sort of STD-based vigilante giving HIV to sex criminals who escape jail time through legal loopholes. Who is my original OC, by the way. Seriously, if you take my idea for the AIDS Avenger, consider yourself a dead man. What the hell am I talking about again? The worm drives its host to go to high population areas, or when that isn't possible, follow individuals. It releases hormones like cortisol and adrenaline to put the individual under stress, and then through unknown means, the worm compels the host to pursue hyperpopulated areas of humanity. The goal of the worm is to get the host in close proximity to as many potential new hosts as possible before its consumption of the human leads it to falling apart. Upon the host's death, the worm can actually continue to move the body, but eventually, feeding on the muscles and bones of the host will limit its mobility. When the human juice box runs out, the worm have no food left, and since it can't move of its own accord, it has one final trick up its foreskin. Like a water balloon, or the condom that led to your creation, the worm-ridden human head will burst, releasing a thick gooey cloud of larvae into the air. Physical contact or inhalation of the worm cum will lead to subsequent infestation. Nature is just so beautiful sometimes. I mean, not right now. This makes me want to warm the globe faster, but I don't know, eat some fucking tree bark or something. A novel anomalous force has been affecting wildlife worldwide. While the specifics of the effects on these animals are borderline unpredictable, there are some recurring symptoms. The morphology of the animal twists and distorts into a nightmarish, seemingly random visage. The creature can lose or sprout additional limbs, sense organs, teeth, anything. Not only that, but it appears some pieces of their morphology can split open, revealing new structures like a giant maw. The process takes place slowly over time, and is evidently incredibly painful for the animal in question, as they shriek a constant dull moan that does nothing to drown out the horrific snapping and creaking of their bones like old hardwood floors as they reshape in nonsensical ways. So far, the phenomena has been documented affecting giraffes, birds, deer, bear, sheep, rhino, dog, and various sea animals. Not only does the morphology of the animal change, but the behavior as well. The condition changes every animal it affects into a reckless and aggressive carnivore. These photographs of the anomalous wildlife event were taken by investigator Leovincible, who decided that the Anomalous Containment Foundation's rules and regulations work better as fireplace material than reading material. Giving the finger to the paranormal government is a dirty job, but someone's gotta do it. While the cause of this plague upon the fauna of Earth is yet unknown, we can still theorize on what the possible cause might be. I initially believed that this might be the work of somebody supernaturally talented, representing humanity's sins against the natural world by using animals as a living canvas. Maybe as some sort of protest piece against environmental damage. I know what you're thinking. Doesn't disfiguring animals as a symbolic statement for ecosystem destruction go against the very reason they'd been doing it. Yeah, but, like, have you ever talked to a human? They're walking contradictions. Half of them tweet about how bad child labor is from their smartphones the second they get them hot off the child labor factory line. Sure, we could guess it's some sort of curse, or a metaphysical manipulation from a supernatural source, or perhaps some energy leaking in from another dimension, but there's little to no evidence for those ideas. Aside from just suspension of disbelief. So, I guess it's back to the drawing board. While information about this phenomena on the internet is scarce to say the least, there is a popular theory floating around about what's making these animals into literal fucking monsters. The theory is that this is caused by a virus making rapid zoonotic shifts between species. This virus causes genetic sequence disturbances in the form of virus-induced gene mutations. These virus-induced mutations are not fully understood by human scientists, and are probably due to the insertions of fragments of viral DNA into the host chromosomes. Essentially, the virus corrupts the DNA of the animal, and for some reason that we don't fully understand yet, the animal's body begins to act as some sort of horrific physiology randomizer, morphing the poor creature's form to look like some sort of Cronenberg Mr. Potato Head for limbs and sense organs. Question is, if it is a virus, what happens when the virus makes the shift to mankind? While the virus theory is all well and good, if you're a fan of my show for some reason, first off, get therapy, and second, you may have noticed a parallel between these dumb broken animals and some other dumb broken animals documented by a different investigator. This parasite would make sense as the cause for this new unnatural habitat phenomena, as it severely affects both the morphology and the behavior of its host. Although its favorite target is bird, it's gone after larger animals like deer and even people. I believe that Leo's documentation of these unnatural animals may be further examples of different forms of this lamprey parasite. I know what you're saying. You don't make no gosh darn sense, eyeball man. That doesn't explain the growth in limbs and the entire body rearrangement of many of these types of animals. Well, you stupid fuck, that's where the virus theory comes back into play. If this lamprey were to carry pathogens of its own, it's possible that these pathogens could also make the same zoonotic shift just as rapidly, if not more rapidly than the worms. It looks as though the invasive species of lamprey hasn't been wearing its condoms, and if it tries to worm its way inside of humans again, that virus sounds like your problem too. See, we can both win. Both theories can be right, except they're not. They're both wrong, because none of this was canon and I made it all up. Except for the parts that I stole. If you like this video for some reason and want me to come back and talk about more weird nonsensical critters, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe with all notifications enabled, and watch all my other stuff, or I'll shove a worm up your butt. I'd like to thank Biodegradable for editing this video. They're a great editor and you should go watch all of their things. Shout out the Inner Circle. Love y'all.
Okay, bye.